Part 2. The uncharted depths of love. Prince Alaric returned to his castle. But he was a changed man, no longer the composed royal his court knew. The vibrant colors of court tapestries, the echoing clinking of goblets, and the endless, superficial chatter of courtiers now felt dull and meaningless, like a play he no longer wished to attend. His mind, once occupied with matters of state and navigation, was now utterly consumed by Lyra. He spent his days secluded in the royal library, not just browsed but feverishly poring over dusty ancient texts, brittle yellowed maps, and forgotten lore, desperately searching for any mention of merfolk, any hidden clue, any whispered legend that could possibly lead him back to her. The court physicians observed his pale face and perpetually distracted demeanor, shaking their heads and attributing his malaise to a mysterious sea fever, a common, albeit vague, ailment among sailors. But Alaric knew the truth. It was a fever of the heart, a profound, aching longing for something unattainable, a yearning that no earthly remedy or royal duty could quench. He consulted old mariners, their faces weathered and lined like ancient maps of the sea, their eyes holding tales of countless voyages. He asked them about strange currents, uncharted islands, and whispered tales of ocean magic, stories often dismissed as drunken ramblings or sailors' superstitions. But Alaric listened intently, meticulously piecing together fragments of legend, determined to find his mermaid. He even sought out reclusive scholars who studied obscure dead dialects, hoping to decipher any hidden meanings in the merfolk's myths or ancient aquatic prophecies. Meanwhile, in the deep, Lyra was equally restless, an uncharacteristic tension humming beneath her scales. The familiar beauty of her vibrant coral home, the playful, intricate dances of her sisters through sun-dappled waters, and the comforting, rhythmic murmur of the ocean currents no longer brought her their usual boundless joy. Her mind constantly replayed the vivid, almost dreamlike image of the prince on his magnificent ship, his golden hair catching the sunlight, his sky-blue eyes that seemed to hold a boundless curiosity, and the intense, searching gaze that had met hers across the shimmering waves, creating an instant, undeniable connection. She found herself swimming closer to the surface than ever before, her powerful tail propelling her upwards with a force born of longing. Despite her grandmother's increasingly stern and anxious warnings, "The surface world is not for us, child," the elder would often croak, her voice filled with ancient sorrow and bitter, hard-earned experience. "Their world is fleeting, their hearts fickle. They bring only sorrow and destruction to our kind. The siren's call of human affection leads only to tears." But Lyra felt an undeniable pull, a profound yearning that defied the warnings of her ancestors and the deeply ingrained traditions of her people. She found herself humming the broken melody, the tune that had led her to him, no longer feeling the sting of the original tune's loss, but rather a new, quiet hope that pulsed with each beat of her heart, a melody of anticipation. Months turned into a full year, each day feeling like an eternity. Alaric, having exhausted all conventional methods of research and finding no satisfactory answers in the dusty scrolls of his kingdom, took a desperate, bold step. He secretly commissioned the construction of a smaller, faster ship, one designed for stealth and speed, not royal grandeur or ceremonial display. He meticulously oversaw every single detail, ensuring its hull was sleek, its sails silent, its movements as unobtrusive as possible. He christened it the Lyra's Whisper, a private vow to his unseen love. He filled its holds, not with silks and royal treasures, but with specialized diving equipment, navigational charts he had painstakingly marked with cryptic symbols, gleaned from his research and provisions for what he knew would be a long, solitary, and perilous journey. His brothers, concerned by his increasing reclusiveness and single-minded obsession, tried to dissuade him, urging him to return to his duties, to find a suitable princess, to resume his rightful place in court. But Alaric's resolve was unshakable, forged in the crucible of his longing and determination. He offered vague explanations of charting new trade routes or exploring distant, unexplored lands, but his eyes held a secret, burning fire that betrayed his true, deeply personal purpose. One moonless night, under the thick, oppressive cloak of heavy, scudding clouds that obscured even the faintest stars, Alaric slipped away from the royal docks, leaving no trace behind, a shadow melting into the darkness. The Lyra's Whisper, cut silently through the waves, a phantom ship guided solely by the almost obsessive study of ocean currents he had undertaken and by the compass of his own heart. He sailed for weeks, navigating treacherous, unmarked reefs and battling fierce, unyielding storms that threatened to tear his small vessel apart to swallow him whole. His body grew weary from lack of sleep and constant vigilance, his hands calloused from the ropes. But his spirit remained utterly unyielding, fueled by an almost desperate hope. He followed the whispers of obscure legends, the unusual migratory patterns of certain deep-sea fish that hinted at hidden pathways in the faint, almost imperceptible shifts in ocean temperature that he had learned could indicate the presence of deep-sea currents pathways known only to the merfolk. He was searching not just for a place, but for a very specific kind of magic. A point where the veil between their two distinct worlds thinned, where the impossible might truly become possible. A subtle yet profound change in the water, a faint tremor, a disturbance in the ancient rhythm of the ocean that was not caused by familiar currents or the distant calls of whales, or even the shifts of the seabed. It was a unique sensation, one she had felt only once before, on that unforgettable sunset evening. A thrill, a profound mix of fear and exhilarating excitement, shot through her, vibrating through every scale. She began to swim towards the surface faster than she ever had in her life, her powerful tail a blur of emerald and sapphire. Propelling her upwards with desperate urgency, her heart pounding with a mixture of terror and hope, she breached the surface, spraying water into the cool night air, her eyes wide, scanning the vast, seemingly empty expanse of the dark ocean. And then her gaze locked onto it. A small dark ship, its sails almost invisible against the black canvas of the night sky, was slowly, silently approaching, a silent promise cutting through the water. On its bow, perfectly silhouetted against the nascent moonlight that now pierced through a break in the clouds, was a lone figure. Even from a distance, she recognized the determined stance, the noble bearing, the undeniable promise of his presence. Alaric, standing at the helm, his hands steady on the tiller, spotted the shimmering disturbance on the water. A flash of unnatural light under the faint moon, a ripple that was distinctly not from a fish. He steered the Lyra's whisper closer, his heart leaping into his throat, a joyous, almost painful thump against his ribs. And there she was, Lyra, more breathtakingly beautiful than his wildest dreams. Her seafoam hair like spun moonlight cascading around her, her tail a vibrant cascade of jewels. This time, she didn't flee. She watched him, her eyes wide with a mixture of apprehension and an undeniable spark of recognition, a flicker of mutual hope. He lowered the sails, letting the ship drift gently on the calm surface, the only sound, the soft lapping of waves against the hull. The silence between them was profound, yet it was filled with an unspoken language, a silent dialogue of longing and discovery that transcended any words. Alaric, discarding the formality of his royal station, extended his hand, palm open, a simple, profound gesture of peace, trust, and profound longing, an invitation to bridge the impossible chasm. Lyra hesitated, her gaze flickering from his outstretched hand to his earnest eyes, then back to the open palm. The grave warnings of her grandmother echoed in her mind. A discordant note in the symphony of her yearning, a stark reminder of ancient grievances and broken trusts. The depth of his gaze, the undeniable sincerity and gentle invitation in his eyes, overshadowed centuries of ingrained fear and ancestral caution. Slowly, tentatively, she reached out her own hand, her fingers webbed and delicate, hovering for a precious moment before finally making contact with his. As their skin touched, a jolt, like warm electricity, passed between them. A silent current flowing from one world to another, confirming an undeniable bond. It was a connection that transcended the boundaries of land and sea, a promise whispered on the gentle night breeze, a silent beginning to an impossible love, and the first true step towards bridging to disparate worlds.